All right, welcome everybody. This is going to be a recap of my trades for this Friday, the 7th of July, 2023. Please pay attention. I'm going to go through some really important stuff, share a little bit of things that may help you out in your trading as well. But we're going to start off with the ES. Now, I did have a couple trades on the indices today. First came in as a sell, came in as a pairing pattern, short. And unfortunately, I did come in with a bias. One of the things that's so important to do, don't come in, particularly if you're a short-term trader, don't come in with a bias, all right? Thinking it has to go down or it has to go up, all right? It's not the way to trade, but I can be guilty of that myself. And I really thought that this market was going to come down. I think eventually it did, but, you can still lose money even if you're right, okay? So anyway, so I had a sell entry here. It was a pairing pattern short, and that came in shortly after 9 Eastern, all right, right before the market opened at 9:30. It did come up. Now, this is my reversal. This is what I call buying reverse over here at this green bar. So what I did is as it got closer to the green bar, I will do this a lot, okay? And so those that are familiar with Einstein know that we still have a high probability, 72% probability, that it's not going to hit this green line. It's going to come down. Let me see if I can show you the target, because I did have a lower target sitting down here. Had a much lower target down here, so I still have the same probability. The probability doesn't change, okay? That's the beauty with Einstein. But so what I'll do is a lot of times if it gets close to that reversal point, okay, I'll still take a trade because the trade has a lot less risk to it, greater potential for reward, all right, because that line right there still has that 72% and higher probability of not being touched. Well, unfortunately, in this case, it did touch that, and that was a bond reverse. So if you were in our room this morning, that was a bond reverse. In this case, I did not reverse, all right? I did not reverse. And the reason I did not reverse is I was also getting a buy on the mini NASDAQ. So let me show you what I ended up doing on the mini NASDAQ. Yeah, I could have bought it, and that was its target. And it finally hit the target. But that trade was what, almost 2 hours, almost a 3-hour trade before it hit target. All right, that's the thing about Einstein. We have very high probabilities of it hitting these targets. Sometimes they take a little bit longer than others, depending on how far out the target is. All right. But so I ended up losing on the ES. Let's take a look, and I'll show you exactly what I did on the mini NASDAQ. All right. So here's a chart of the mini NASDAQ for this last Friday. Once again, I had to buy. This was actually, now the prior ES was an HF2. This was an HF1 buy, one of my favorites. This was a really nice HF1 setup. Now, but look what I did here. It pulled back. This is my stop and reverse, just like you saw in the ES, where it was a stop and reverse buy. That would have been a stop, gotten out of the long reverse and gone short, but it did not. But it did come down. When it was coming down, I went ahead and I added to my position, okay? And this is a good example of why it's important, because I still have that probability that it's going to go up, all right? I have tremendous probability, over 70%, that this is not going to get hit and it's going to go up. So I add because my risk is less. And then as it broke through and started going higher, I started looking at the volume. I started looking at the buy tickets coming in. I use something called Bookmap, and it shows me the order size and so forth. There's a lot of buying coming in over here. So I went ahead and I added to the position, and I finally took my profit. I did have a target sitting up here on this buy. This was the original buy. I went ahead and I took my profit at that first target, okay? So the net and net is I ended up, losing on the E-mini, but because I played on the E-mini S&P, but because I played the mini NASDAQ, and I added to my position, I had a great trade, and I still netted out 4,800. All right, let's take a look at the stocks. Well, so I had some really nice stock setups as well. All right, so here's my stock trades on Friday. Very first stock I took, once again, you've been watching me trade a lot of JDST. I bought JDST up here on an HF2 pattern. All right, it was up for just a little bit. I did get into this pre-opening. It was around it was somewhere around 8:40 or something like that when I actually entered this position. So about 45 minutes or so, you know, before the opening bell. After the market opened here, I really thought that we were gonna move much higher. It failed, but never hit my stop and reverse, because I do have a reverse down here, of which, since I'm only taking buys, would actually have been a stop. I would have just gotten out, okay? Because I'm just looking to buy stocks right now. So anyway, that being the case, when it did pull back, now this is the same thing that you watched me do on the NASDAQ and the ES. I went ahead and I added to my buy position. This trade is still on, all right? I will carry JDST through the weekend. So this trade, just to let you know, is still on. I have not closed out this trade. I'll look hopefully to close this trade out on Monday if we can start moving higher. If it's real strong on Monday and I get some additional buy patterns, I'm going to add to my position, okay? I'm going to add a JDST, all right? So watch and see how that plays out. All right. Then the second trade I took, let's see, hold on. All right, second trade, HIVE. Also took this pre-opening here, about 30 minutes or so out before the opening bell. In this case, this was what we call an HF2 buy. I did have 2-3 targets sitting up here, all right? Once it penetrated target number 2, I did take my profit and I got out. But you can see that it also came, well, let's see here. Yeah, it didn't quite hit target number 3 here, but it did hit target number 3 here. That's okay. I got out of target number 2. Only because on Fridays, I don't like to go too far out, all right, on my targets. A lot of times I'll just go for target number 1. We had a lot of buying going on in the morning, so it was a little encouraging, so I held on a little bit longer. But typically on a Friday, I'm going to get out of that first target, but in this case, we had 3. It did hit the third target. So, okay, I went ahead and made a little bit of money on HIVE. So, also did well on TMC. TMC was just kind of just going nowhere after I got in. So, if it's not moving after a while, I'm going to get out. And that's exactly what I did. NAR also had a nice little pop also on NIR and WEBL. So, let's take a look and I'll show you the watch list that we put out, so you can see all these trades, folks. They are on the watch list. All right, so let's see here. Here's your morning watch list. Now, I didn't trade any GRRR. There was a lot of interest in GRRR. Once again, this is put out, okay, in the morning. I usually get it out about somewhere between 8:30 and 9 a.m. Eastern time. So you can catch some of these pre-market openings, catch some of these trades, because a lot of these trades are start to move, all right, in the pre-market. I like to get on board and then carry that through the opening if we get that initial burst, okay, which happens, it does happen a lot. Recently, I haven't been seeing too much of it, but I think it goes through cycles that will be coming back, all right? But nonetheless, didn't do anything in a GRRR or PWM. But you can see we did have TMC in here. Of course, we had JDST and we had our HIVE. These are all on the watch list, folks. So this watch list within it by itself is worth a lot to short-term traders, okay? So if you're a short-term trader, this is not like a normal watch list, okay? So basically, as I've mentioned before, I have several different scanners running, and I'm looking for cross relationships between the different stocks. So you may have one that has a lot of volume, but then you may also have that same stock showing up that maybe has lower float, and maybe it's making new highs for the day, all right? Or maybe it's a combination of different things. So since I can't put all the parameters in one scanner, I have to run 2 scanners at the same time and do the cross, do the cross correlation. Once I see several of them popping up on both scanners, then what I'll do is I'll go through each one of those stocks and I'll run it through my patterns to see if I have any pattern setting up, okay? Once I do that, then I'll run Einstein on each one of those patterns to see if it makes sense to get into it. In other words, is Einstein, going to give me at least a 20, 30-cent move, or is it only going to give me a 5-cent move? I want the ones that have the more explosive moves, all right? And that's the beauty of the patterns and Einstein, is because I know once I get into the trade, I have very high probability that it's going to hit my targets, and I know exactly how much it's going to be in terms of, is it going to be 20 cents? Sometimes it can be $1 depending on the stock. It just really, really depends. The idea is to get into it, see it hit your target, and don't go parabolic. It doesn't happen all the time, but then sometimes you catch these parabolic moves where they're going, instead of 20, 30 cents, it's going dollars at a time. That's when you really hit it big. So anyway, that's kind of set up. But anyway, for a Friday, I was pretty impressed for a Friday, so I did pretty well on Friday. Coming in on Monday, once again, the only thing I still am carrying in is going to be that JDST, all right? Not a closed out position, so we're coming along JDST, and that's going to wrap it up, all right? So once again, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, hit the notification bell. We'll keep you updated on these newly released updates, and everybody have a great weekend. See you on Monday.